Thanks for joining me for my weekend forecast. We'll obviously be mostly focusing on our potential snow event tomorrow. If you caught my video yesterday, you would have seen that it looked like the storm was going to take a track that gave us less snow, and that certainly the overnight models have reiterated that once again. If anything, it looks like we'll see a little less snow. This is mostly going to be a nuisance snow, not really going to be in a snow event. Probably won't need to plow in most places, I would say, at this point. You may need to get the shovel out just to kind of get the couple inches that you might get off the doorsteps. But basically, it'll be a preview of winter, but not full-on winter here. Although if you're in New Hampshire or Maine, where the storm is going to dump quite a bit of snow, that'll obviously be different. So let's take a quick look at what's going on here. Here's our storm starting to form over the Mississippi River Valley, or we're actually kind of east of the Mississippi River Valley now, over the southeastern United States. We have a bit of a front kind of moving through, giving us a little bit cooler air to kind of cool us off some. This looks impressive, but and is sort of developing, as we can see, but is maybe not quite as impressive, at least from a moisture standpoint yet. This will eventually tap moisture, but it's actually going to tap more Atlantic moisture. There's actually hasn't tapped as much Gulf moisture as one might expect for a storm headed in our direction, and it hasn't really gotten its act together good yet, which is part of what's going to happen. It doesn't really get going, and we'll see in a second here. The upper level, the second northern stream of the jet stream, was a little late in getting here with this storm, and so it's not really going to phase and start to gain in strength until a little further east, and then basically once that starts to happen, it's going to head north, kind of directly north, which is always good for us, but it's going to head directly north a little too far east for us to get the heavy snow. And it's a real close call. You know, the models, when I say the models have been all over the place with this storm, that sort of implies that the models are radically different from one another. The problem is the practical weather is pretty radically different from one another, but the models themselves actually weren't that inaccurate. It's just that a matter of the heavy snow following 75 miles east or west, and a pretty sharp cutoff to the western edge of the precipitation means, and we happen to be in that zone this time, as we often are, it's not unusual in the winter, meant the difference between us seeing a big snowstorm, at least relatively big, 6 to 10, maybe even a little bit more inches of snow, and us seeing just a couple inches. And so we, that often happens, that there's this transition zone. So here's what's happening. Here's the culprit for why this is happening. Piece of southern energy here. It is still pretty strong, but one thing you'll notice, if you drew like a line through, I cannot get the angle right here really, but if you drew a line through like of how the oval there is tilted, it's sort of tilted this way, that way. That is a positive tilt, and so when that happens, it means that the storm is progressive. To get a storm to really develop, we need this to kind of swing and actually be negatively tilted. And that is going to happen, but as you can see, this is positively tilted, and the trough, the northern trough here, is also positively tilted. And so it's going to take a longer time for that to happen across the southeast. And so they don't really wrap up together until kind of like off the coast, or right, like the upper level energy will be like right near Cape Cod, or just southeast of Cape Cod, and then the energy at the surface, it ends up being east of that. We need the upper level energy actually to be just about right on top of us in order to get, or just a little bit south and east of us, more like over like central Massachusetts, for us to get the best storms like snow-wise here. So it's just a little too far east for us. So what does that mean from a practical? This is basically the same map as yesterday. I had brought down totals a little bit. I think in general, as you get to the western periphery of the storm, actually the sharp cutoff between like the 6-inch or more range, which I think is still in kind of western-ish. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if just east of Keene, like Jaffrey, New Hampshire, if they got like 5 or 6 inches of snow, wouldn't be surprising at all. So we're not far from that, and that could still translate back a little bit. There's still some wiggle room in the model. But I think for the when we get west of that, everybody kind of gets this light snow. It'll be a little terrain enhanced here. So it's basically a 1 to 2 inch snowstorm. There'll be some spot 3 inches as you get to the higher terrain over the greens. But in general, everybody gets an inch or two, I think. There's still a possibility that we end up with just a few flurries. If things move a little east, or if things shift back west, we could bump these totals up a little bit. But at this point, I think that's pretty unlikely that we'll see more than the totals that I'm showing you here. So with that in mind, let's take a quick look at the weekend weather, what that really looks like practical-wise. Cloudy, chance of snow, afternoon, could start actually even by 10 o'clock tomorrow, I suppose. I think if travel gets tricky at all, it'll be like mid-afternoon tomorrow. That'll be the worst spot travel-wise. We're not going to be overly cold, and with the snow not coming down as hard, I would say the roads will be fine for the most part. We'll be in the low 30s, yeah. So Sunday we're basically on the backside of the storm. It'll feel like winter on Sunday. It'll be colder. We'll have some leftover snow showers or flurries in the morning. We'll be in the 20s all day, and with the winds, we'll feel like we're in the teens. All right, so I will probably have another update this evening, just to make sure that nothing has changed from the noonday models. But otherwise, I hope you have a good day, and we will hope you enjoy a little bit of snow, even if it's not quite as much. If you wanted a lot of snow, sorry about that. But if you wanted just it to look a little bit nicer around here, I think it will. So